Okay, Matt Trom here. The purpose of this video is to just give you a quick run through of how to set up a quiz that is protected by the HonorLock remote proctoring system. What we're looking at here is just a sandbox Canvas page that was put together by UFCITT so that I could play around with Mech Design 2 going online. This all was put up before the current switched to all online instruction, and so I haven't had time to populate this at all. So it's essentially representative of what a site would look like, a Canvas site would look like if you just jumped into Canvas and had never created an online Canvas site before. So I've got a couple of kind of quizzes here. So I'm going to click on quiz. This is a quiz that I previously created. It's a fluids review quiz, so you can see it exists, and well, it was due in the past, but that's okay. Should still work for our purposes. And what I want to do is protect this quiz via HonorLock. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking here under Canvas. This is my kind of navigation bar, my vertical navigation bar on the left side, and there's no HonorLock here. There's no choices for HonorLock. So the first thing that I need to do is add HonorLock so that I can access it. So I'm going to click here at the bottom on Settings. And Settings brings me to kind of a master list of all the possible things, all the possible tools that I could add into my catalog here. And keep in mind, you guys might see the course detail tab come up first. So in order to get to the list of all the different possible applications that you can put into Canvas, you have to click navigation. And once you click navigation, if you don't have HonorLock among all of the applications that have been enabled, there's a whole list of them here that have not been enabled, and mine just happens to be on the top. They're not in any order. They're sort of in a random order, so you might have to go all the way down to the bottom to find HonorLock, but it's in there somewhere. And so to get HonorLock from the list of disabled applications into enabled applications, you just literally grab it. So I'm clicking it with my mouse and holding my mouse button down, and I'm moving it from the disabled list up here onto the enabled list, and I'm going to put mine just right underneath quizzes, so that's where it should show up when I exit out of this screen. Now here's a key thing, and I've made this mistake myself. Just doing this doesn't automatically change this list of utilities that you have access to. You actually have to scroll down to the bottom, and sadly, let's see if I can minimize this here. Give me 1 second. Okay, nope, that didn't do it. If we scroll down to the bottom, there's a save. I'm going to give it one more shot, and then I'm going to give up. There we go. There's a save button way down here at the bottom. You have to click on that save button. All right, and now if I go back to home, you should see, there it is. So HonorLock has now appeared underneath quizzes. So that's how you get HonorLock into this navigation column to begin with. Okay, and that quiz that I showed you guys, it was Fluids Review Quiz, it's published, and so once you have a published quiz, you should be able to go into HonorLock and protect the published quiz by enabling HonorLock for that quiz. So I'm going to go into HonorLock by clicking here. And in a moment, okay, a list of all of my different available quizzes show up, and the key thing to look at is these shields with the check boxes in them. If a shield just appears sort of as gray without any color in it, those particular quizzes or exams are not protected yet via HonorLock. So in order to get HonorLock protection, you have to click the Enable button. So I'm going to go over here, hit Enable for my fluids quiz. and up should come. There it is. Okay, there's the HonorLock screen. Now, everybody is different, but I personally, in my Mech Design 2 course, allow my students basically access to anything they want. So it's open book, open note, open computer, open internet. But I do make sure that HonorLock is watching them the entire time to make sure that they're not using emails or chat or their cell phones or getting help from other people who might be in the same room with them. So the way that I configure these is I leave record webcam on, so that records the students as they are taking the test. Webcam failsafe, I leave this off. Basically what this does is if the webcam fails during the exam, the students can continue taking the test. So I turn this off. I do record the student screen, so that allows us later on, HonorLock will flag any instances that it thinks that a student was doing something unusual, potentially cheating, and so you want to be able to go back and review those flags, those instances. So you do want to record the screen, at least I do. Record audio allows you to hear if a student is talking to somebody else, so you want to make sure that you have an audio recording. Room scan at the beginning of the test, the student actually has to pick up their laptop and rotate it 360 degrees to demonstrate that there's no other person in the room with them. So that's what room scan does. I leave that on. Student ID asks students to hold up a picture of their UFID for the camera in advance, so you can use that to make sure that the student who is supposed to be taking the test is the one who's actually sitting in front of the camera. Student photo also captures a picture of the student. So if you've got student ID and you've got student photo, you can look to make sure that you've got the student's photo ID with their name on it corresponding to the photograph of the actual person taking the test. Record web traffic. This HonorLock uses to just make sure that students are not using unauthorized websites. So like for me, it would be using email, using text, or like chatting with somebody. So you can record all of the kind of ingoing and outgoing web traffic if you leave this on. Record network speed test. I don't use this. I'm not actually sure what it would be used for, other than if a student is using an awful lot of internet resources and their network speed is dragging as a result. You might use that kind of as a secondary indicator that they're accessing the internet when they shouldn't be. Manual review, this has always been locked for me. I can't turn it on and I'm not sure what it does. On-screen calculator allows the students to access like an HonorLock embedded calculator, like the old-time Casio scientific calculators that they can sort of tap on the screen to do calculations. Disable copy-paste. This prevents, if it's on, prevents students from copying text and pasting it somewhere else. So if you wanted to maintain the integrity of your exam, you don't want a student like copying questions out of your exam and pasting them somewhere else so that they could access them later. So if I turn that on, that disables their ability to do that. Whitelist URLs. So if you have some websites that you want students to be able to access, you can put the list of them in here. I typically, like I said, my exams are open internet, so I leave this off. Browser guard locks down the student's browser. Again, I'm an open internet test guy, so I turn this off, but if you had it turned on, the students would not be able to access the website through a browser. Single display is on. This prevents the students from projecting the quiz to another screen somewhere else. Maybe they've got a colleague sitting in another room that somehow is feeding them information, and that student could watch the other display and help them answer the question. So I leave this on so that only one display shows the exam, and then disable printing. This one I also turn on because, again, for exam integrity, it prevents the students from just literally copying the exam and hitting the print button and then having a paper version of it spit out that they can access later and distribute to the students. I'm not sure what simulated exam does. I've never used it, but I imagine that there's not like a real AI proctor watching the students, that they kind of, it's practice, right? They go through the entire process of pretending basically to be proctored during the exam, but no real data about them is taken. So there's two more sections here. One is student instructions. So this gives written instructions to the students, and then proctor guidelines. This gives students, sorry, not students. This gives instructions to the proctors. Now, generally, HonorLock is an AI, an artificial intelligence, which is watching the students as they take their exams. But if the student really starts to mess up, if they're doing, a lot of things that look unusual, if they're kind of looking around, or if they're very clearly talking to someone else, or if they pull up their cell phone and they start texting, at least in my experience, HonorLock will take a human proctor and sit the human proctor down in front of the student. If the student does one more thing that's sort of sketchy or unusual, that human proctor will either lock the student's screen, actually come up on the student's screen like as a video and tell them to stop doing whatever it is that they're doing, or jump in to a chat with the student to try to figure out what the student is doing. And at least in my case, a lot of times students are having to work out complicated problems on paper and then putting those answers into the HonorLock quiz. And so my students very often are looking down. I'm sort of simulating it here, but they'd be looking down, working through the problems. And a student looking down, I found, often triggers HonorLock to call in a human proctor. And so because my students are all doing that because they're working out hard problems on paper, I actually put an instruction, a written instruction in here telling the proctors that it's okay for the students to look away from the screen because they're doing work on a piece of paper, and to please not interrupt them or lock down the browser if they see the students looking away, especially if it appears that they're writing something down. Since I've started doing that, students have reported much fewer instances of being interrupted by human proctors as they look away to solve problems. Okay, so once you've got all that set, I'm going to see if I can move this down. Ooh, I can. Okay. Then you click the enable button here, and it takes a moment. Sometimes it takes more than a moment. There we go. Okay. And now the main screen comes back up. So this is the HonorLock screen, and now you can see this shield that was gray originally now kind of has this blue kind of HonorLock blue color hue to it, and that means that this this particular quiz is now going to be proctored and protected by HonorLock when it's given to the students. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful and beneficial for those of you who are wondering how to do this. I'm going to close out the video, but thanks for your time and attention. Hope you guys have luck with this. Thanks.